I'm Miss Kathy from Flamingo Gardens. Welcome to Explore Outdoors While Stuck Indoors, where we explore Flamingo Gardens A to Z. Today's letter is the letter W. Wow, what wonderful things do you think we can find at Flamingo Gardens today? Let's start exploring. W is for the wetlands, also for water, which you'll find in the wetlands. I'm standing at our mitigated wetlands or man-made wetlands at Flamingo Gardens. And in this area we have a lot of wildlife. We have the different birds, heron, geese, ducks. We also have turtles that come here. We have fish in the water. And you can also see the different type of plants like the pickerel that's behind me, or the spatterdock or bonnet lilies that are in front of me. Water is important to every living creature. We all need fresh, clean water, and that is why it is so important that we make sure that our lakes and rivers are clean. Now in Florida, we get most of our drinking water from the aquifers. The aquifers are underground. They're kind of like underground pools where we can pump up our water. And in Florida, the rain is extremely important. We have two seasons, a dry season and a wet season. During the wet season is when we are going to get a lot of water. A lot of the lakes are going to rise. New animals will be seen because they'll come to that area for the fresh water. And then in the dry season, you'll see that the water levels get lower. We have the bonnet lily here, or the spatterdock. The way it gets its name of the bonnet lily is because if an alligator or a turtle is underwater and they come up, sometimes this giant leaf will sit on their head just like a little bonnet. If you stand quietly, you can see all of the life out by the wetlands area. We have our mute swan Helen swimming around. We have some Egyptian geese and ibis. Right now we are in their home. And look, we've found Helen's mate, Troy. He's sitting on a nest in the wetlands. A lot of the different birds will use the wetlands as nesting areas. Aren't the wetlands wonderful? Well, we got to see where a lot of wildlife calls home. Now let's go see what our founders would have called home around 90 years ago. Let's go. W is for the Wray home. Flamingo Gardens has a very long history. 93 years ago, in 1927, Floyd L. Wray and Frank Sterling purchased land here and started citrus groves called Flamingo Groves. They eventually had 60 varieties of citrus growing on 2,000 acres. Then in the 1930s, the botanical gardens took root when they received foreign plants and seeds from the federal government to see how they would grow in South Florida. These included rare tropical fruit, flowering trees, and shrubs. Floyd and his wife Jane invited members of the community to Flamingo Groves on the weekends. The Rays lived in Hollywood, Florida, and back then, since they didn't have the roadways like we do today, it was a very long drive for them. So they built a home here where they could spend their weekends and entertain friends. Let's take a walk up to the house. Come on. The Wray lawn is where they would have barbecues. Isn't it grand? Let's go inside. The Wray home is now a museum. When we reopen, you can come back for a tour. But let's go check it out inside and see what it was like to live in the 1930s. Here we have what a living room would look like in the 1930s. Did you notice they don't have a television or computers? They didn't have them back then. So if you were self-isolating in the 1930s, you'd be playing the piano, or you'd be playing games like checkers or dominoes. And you'd be listening to your music on a Victrola. It's kind of like an old record player. But you guys probably don't even know what record players are either anymore. We haven't had them for a long time. Now let's go see what the dining room looked like. It's probably all set up for a lovely dinner. And the table is all set for a beautiful dinner. Look at all the fancy china. Look at this kitchen. Is this what your kitchen looks like at home? Probably not. You probably don't have a pump to get your water from, or a washboard like this to wash your clothing with. We have a meat grinder over here, and if you look, we have our stove. Your stove at home probably does not look like this, but in the 1930s, this is what they would have used to cook. And look at this. Can you guess what this is? This is a toaster. You put the bread on this side, and then close it together. Pretty cool, huh? Here we are in the gallery where you can see old photos of the Wrays that show the story of Flamingo Gardens. To end our tour of the Wray home, here's a quote from our founder, Floyd Wray. You are welcome to Flamingo Gardens and are invited to spend as much time as you desire. My only request being that you help us preserve this beauty spot for others. We think Mr. and Mrs. Wray would both be happy to know what a beauty spot Flamingo Gardens is today. W is for wood stork. We're in our aviary trying to find the wood stork. Let's listen to what Mike has to say about these wonderful birds.
Hey kids, this is Mike. Now we're going to be talking about the wood storks. Now in the entire world, you know, there's only 19 species of storks found in the entire world. Right here in North America, we only have one species, and that is the wood stork. Now the wood stork gets his name because of his, basically his head. His head almost looks like it's a bark of a tree. That's how I got the name wood stork. But the reason he doesn't have any feathers on his head is he's actually a carrion eater, just like vultures are. So he may actually stick his head inside a dead animal and cut off pieces of the meat and actually eat it. Although they're actually really mainly fish eaters. Now they are considered a wading bird because you notice they have a long beak, a long neck, and a long legs. Now they also, when they hunt, they don't really hunt like egrets and herons do. Egrets and herons will actually spear their food and put their heads completely under the water. A wood stork doesn't like to put his head under the water, only his beak. And he has to catch his food by feeling his food and grabbing it with his beak. You know a wood stork can close his mouth faster than any animal on the planet that has a vertebrae. So basically, as he's hunting, he's going to open up his mouth, he's going to swing his head from side to side, and when he feels a fish, he's going to snap onto the fish and eat it real quickly. You also notice he has pink toes, and he has pink toes because what he'll do is sometimes he'll move his feet around and he'll try to scare fish into his beak and catch them. Now, wood storks are called the barometers of the Everglades. They determine how well the Everglades are doing. Now, the wood stork right now is a species, it's a threatened species. It was considered an endangered species, but it was just recently taken off that list and is now a threatened species. Now, wood storks only breed during drought seasons. The reason for this is they have to wait till the Everglades is really dried up and all the fish get concentrated in a very small area. Because to feed a mom and a dad and 2 little babies, they're going to need about 400 pounds of fish in 3 months in order to feed the family and the kids. And if the Everglades doesn't dry up at the right time, they just won't breed that year. So that's one of the reasons why they're considered a threatened species, because they depend on the climate, whether or not they're going to breed or not.
I hope you all enjoyed learning about the wetlands, the Wray home, water, and the wood stork. Now it is time for Crafts with Cats, starring Gray Ghost, Oreo, and Twin. Today's craft is going to be a water lily. So ask your parent or an adult that's with you to go to flamingogardens.org. Click on the Education tab for Explore Outdoors While Stuck Indoors so that you can download our water lily template. What you're going to need is the template, a paper plate. If you don't have a paper plate, that's okay. You could just use a piece of paper, crayons, scissors, and glue. What you're going to do first is you are going to color in your flower. Now, you can also print the template on colored paper if you like. Your flower can be any color that you want. You're going to color in the flower, and then after you're done coloring it in, you're going to cut it out so that you have the three, but it's only going to be one flower. You're going to take your paper plate and you're going to color that green. That is going to be the leaf. After you have your green paper plate, you can cut out a little section of it so it kind of resembles the leaves like the bonnet lilies that we saw in our wetlands. Then you're going to take your flower petals. You're going to glue the largest one onto the that's going to be on the bottom. You'll glue the medium-sized one right on top of there, and you can have the petals going in between each other to kind of have like a layered look. Then the last one goes on top, and then your center. Glue it right in the middle. Now what you do is just curl up the petals a little bit so they don't look flat on your leaf. And just take a few minutes to curl them up. Then after you've got them kind of curled up a little bit, you're going to glue the whole flower onto the lily pad or bonnet lily leaf. And you can place it anywhere that you would like. And now you have your water lily. Please join us tomorrow for Explore Outdoors While Stuck Indoors, where we explore animals, plants, and trees that begin with the letter X. And please remember to visit us at flamingogardens.org. Click on the Education tab for Explore Outdoors While Stuck Indoors, or you can visit us at YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram at Flamingo Gardens. We can't wait to see you tomorrow. Have a great day.